Okay, we will see how to build now charts in Excel. Building chart is one of the major and best features of Excel. Okay, we will see this on Excel 2013, so the newest one. Let's see straightforward. First of all, straightforward with an easy example. First of all, you have to select the chart range. It seems trivial, but it's always a good idea. You can either select it very precisely in this way, okay, or be very lazy and select it in this way. Both are good. Excel will ignore things here below. Insert, and let's start inserting a very basic 2D column. Okay. As soon as you insert it, the graph appears here as a floating window. It's honestly very annoying to have these floating windows above your data, so probably one of the best first things to do is to use Move Chart. You can notice that in Excel 2013, two new ribbons have appeared, Design and Format. Okay, in Design ribbon, click on Move Chart and move the chart immediately to a new sheet. Okay. So the chart will use an entirely new sheet, and you will be able to do modification to it much more easily without having it floating around. Okay. The first thing which it's worth pointing out here, it's the switch row column. Try to click it, and you will see that the same data, because I did not change my data, and the same graph, because I did not change the graph type, so the chart type can be changed here. Okay, I can see my data in two different ways. Okay, so in case you produce a graph, you are very sure to have got the right data, but the graph doesn't look good, doesn't look what it should. You can try switch row data. Can you see here? You see nationalities as category access, and number 1, number 2 in the legend. With switch row data, you see nationalities in the legend and number 1, number 2 as category data. Okay. Another thing that you can do using select data is to insert or remove currently series. Okay. Select data. This thing arrives, it indicates which series are you currently using. For example, suppose you want to remove number 2, so remove. And now series number 2 is not present anymore. Suppose you want to add a new series, for example the sum of two numbers. You click on add. Okay. You go to the right chart, the right sheet. So series name, sum of two numbers. Series value. Pay particular attention to this horrible 1, because if you just drag here, it will completely screw everything up. So delete it, and then select the series. Okay, press OK, and you have added the second series. This is something to be done very rarely. We'll see only one example in which it's worth doing it, because honestly, if you have selected the wrong data, it will be much easier to redo the graph from the beginning. On the other hand, something which is very common, it's setting the category axis. Okay. In case you want to change your category axis or you have forgotten them, you can always click on Edit, and you will be free to select different category axes, for example these numbers here. Okay. Or let's remain with the categories that we have. It's really a very common operation to change the category axis. Instead, changing the series, it's very rare. Okay. Okay, if you are satisfied, you can press OK, and fine. In case you want to change chart type, you can act from here, but honestly, same thing. If you have the wrong chart, it's much better to rebuild it from the beginning. Okay. This offers you to change the chart elements aesthetically in some easy ways, but also here we'll see better ways. Same thing for the colors. It lets you change the chart colors. Okay. But we will see how to change it step by step. Okay, so click here on Format. Okay, format gives you some formatting tools, okay, in case you want to paint your bars, etc., etc. But it's add chart element, so go back to design, it's add chart element, the core for aesthetical changes. Okay. If you want to change any aesthetical any object here, you have two options. Either you change it from here, okay, or you double click on it. Okay. Double clicking on it is the fastest way. However, some objects simply don't appear. We will see some of them. And in case they don't appear and you want them to make appear, you can call them from here. Okay, let's start from the chart title. The chart title, as you can see, doesn't appear, so I cannot double click on it. I have to add it from here. Chart title. Currently it's known. If you choose above chart, centered overlay, whatever you want. Okay, and you can edit it manually. Okay. Unfortunately, there is no option to change the font, and you have to rely on here, or go back to home and change it from here. Okay. Because most of the time Excel displays a very, very small font. Okay, let's remove it. To remove it, as usual, you may double click, no, you may simply press Enter, okay, or if you want to be very precise, go here and choose None. Okay. Axis titles, so the title here and the title here. Also, these ones usually don't appear, so you have to set them from here. Primary vertical, here. Why primary vertical? Primary horizontally, and primary vertical. Okay. If you don't like the vertical to be rotated, you can remove it and go to more axis title options. Choose the vertical. Where is the title? Horizontal axis title, vertical axis. Don't we have the vertical axis title? No, it seems not to have it. Let's redo. Axis title, primary vertical, axis title, more axis title option. Oh, finally we have the vertical axis title. Okay. And let's see if we can rotate it. Unfortunately, with the new interface of Office 2013, it's not easy to find the things. There is this sidebar which opens up, and as you can see, it's not easy at all to find. Finally, I find. Okay. So everything is well hidden. Be sure that the element really does appear in the graph. Then try to double click or activate this bar, search for it here, and then look in all the options, text option, all these things. Unfortunately, things are not so easy to find as they used to be before. Okay, now I get rid of the axis title, simply pressing Enter on it, and also this one. Okay. For same thing for axis title. If you want to make them look bigger, you have to go here. Okay. Now let's see which other elements. The axis themselves. Okay. The axis, the vertical and the horizontal axis. In this graph, the horizontal axis and the vertical axis are strongly different, because the horizontal axis is a category axis, so it contains categories, not numbers. The vertical axis contains numbers. Okay. Even though sometimes the horizontal axis can contain numbers, if the numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they're not considered numbers, but they are considered categories. Okay. So the options that you will have are very different. Let's start from the easiest one, the horizontal axis. So you either go here, axis, more axis options, or easier, double click on the horizontal axis, get here, check that you are on the horizontal axis and not the vertical one. Okay, let's see which option do you have available. You have tons of options. The most important ones are, well, first of all, you may want this Italian, German, English to be rotated, so there should be in text options, let's guess where. Okay, here, text box, rotated. Okay. Again, I repeat, if you want them to look bigger, I'm sorry, but the only way for you to do it is go here and, okay, change them from here. Okay, so this is the first thing you may want to do. The second thing you may want to do, and the second and last thing you may want to do, is to move this vertical axis here. There are some graphs in which it makes sense to have the vertical axis here in the middle. Okay. Seems strange, but this option, which refers to vertical axis, is instead in the horizontal axis options. Let's search where it is. Horizontal axis. It's not here. It's not here. Let's go to axis options. As you can see, it's totally confused. You must train and clearly have in mind where things are. Okay, here, vertical axis crosses at category number 5. You must click somewhere else, otherwise it doesn't apply. So I don't have any place to click here. Okay, you can see now, in correspondence to category number 5, with 1, 2, 3, 4, in correspondence to category number 4, we have the vertical axis. Okay. It's silly, but in some application it may be interesting. Now let's put automatic again. Another thing that you can do are categories in reverse order, so you simply reverse the order of categories. Okay, let's go to the vertical axis, which is much more interesting. I just click one time because first of all I want to change the font so we are able to see, and I want to get rid of this 0.00. Where is it? Number? No, it will be here. Okay, so some things are in the home menu, others are here. Okay, so we double click. Okay, this axis has much more information. First of all, very important, bounds, minimum and maximum. Suppose I ask you, start from 2 and arrive at 17. So you start from 2 and arrive at 17. Okay. And suppose I ask you, with steps of 0.5. So measure unit 0.5. Okay. And now I want to get rid of the last 0. Let's see, where is it? Number. Yes, decimal places 1. Okay. And it's done. Some other modification you can make the vertical axis. Well, as usual, reverse order. So top down. Okay. You can move the horizontal axis somewhere. So 10. Okay, but most of the time you will leave it there. And finally, logarithmic scale. Okay. Well, in this example, the logarithmic scale doesn't make sense, but there will be other examples in which it makes sense. It's not my task to explain to you what is a logarithmic scale. However, if you want to make the vertical axis logarithmic, just click here. Okay, I think we have said everything concerning the vertical axis. Let's see which other elements we have. The legend. This is the legend. As usual, if you want to have a reasonable font, okay, you can move it around manually, so simply dragging, or slightly better, legend, here, it's here, top, left, right, top right, top. Let's leave it at the top. Okay, other elements, access title, chart title, data labels. Well, you can see from here what are the data labels. Outside and is a typical choice. So 11. Sometimes you need to fix them because 11.0299, well, maybe I just click 1, or even better, 2 times. Okay. And let's see where a number. No, it's not this one. A category, general, number, decimal separator, decimal places, 1. It has applied only to this one. You have to take particular care, because if you click 2 times, sometimes only a single element is selected. So let's click 1 time only. No. 1 time only. Okay, all the elements are selected. Here, number, 1. Okay. Okay, let's make them larger. 12. Okay. The same thing could be done to the other one. So pay attention, because if you click 2 times, sometimes a single element is selected. It's particular if you're clicking on a series. If you want to change the color of this thing here, of the bars, well, if it is the color of all the bars of a series, just click one time, okay, and here you have the symbol, solid fill, and choose your favorite color. Okay. If you want to change the color of one bar only, you have to click to select entire series, and then I would click another time, rather quickly, however, so be sure to have only one bar selected, and now you can change the color of only one bar to point it out, for example. Okay, let's see whether there are other elements. I click on the graph. If you don't click on the graph, you don't get extra ribbons here. So I click on the graph, add chart element, data table. Data table is something similar to data labels. I will show it to you. Okay, can you see? There's a little table here which is the table from which you have taken new data. Okay, so in case you want to display the table and the graph, displaying the graph with the data table, it's much better. Let's get rid of this thing here because they're not necessary with the data table, obviously. And also the legend. With the data table, the legend is not necessary anymore. You have the legend and all your data. So most of the time, a data table, if you want to display also all your data table, it's a good idea. Let's get rid of it, however. None. Okay, if you want to remove the grid lines, these are the grid lines. Grid lines. You choose which one do you want. None, also the vertical. Okay. Okay, so there are a lot of options that you can change. For most of them, it's enough to double click. Okay, and you get the options. Otherwise, you go here, add chart elements, and look for the options you want. Okay. We have not discussed on error bars and trend line advanced topics. If you will ever need, you will look them yourself. Okay, and now let's see other things that we can talk about. We will destroy this chart, delete completely. Okay, first of all, a little trick. In case you want to select column B, C, and E, okay, there is a way to do it. You select BC, you press Ctrl on a German keyboard, Strg, and you can select also E. This is a little trick if you want to select non-contiguous cell, which is very typical in graph creations. Okay. I think we have said everything. And let's go on to a little overview on which graphs do you have. When you have only one series of data, we have already seen the column plot. Let's see the bar plot, the line plot, and the area plot. So let's take one series of data, this one. The column plot, move chart. Okay, your column plot. Okay, I change it to a bar plot. And is there any difference? Honestly, no. The bar plot is identical to the column plot, only rotated. Let's go back to the column plot. Now I change this graph to a line plot. Is there any difference? Look at here and look at here. Look at the two graphs. Is there any difference? Well, if you notice, the line simply is connecting the top of the bars. So it's not really a mathematical line. It's simply a line drawn on the column plot. So there is no difference at all between a column plot and a line plot. They are identical. Even worse, the area plot. It's identical to the line plot, it's only filled here. So no difference here. So these four graphs, column and bar, line and area, are identical. So are the same graph in practice. Only simply aesthetical differences. The pie chart, on the other hand, is different. Let's see it. I need other data. I will take only this 5 data here. Insert pie, move chart to a new sheet. Okay, the pie chart is very different. Okay, and not only, but you can do some little things extra. Well, apart from exploding, moving a slice out to emphasize it. Okay, or if you are able to move all the slides out. Okay, oops, now we have to manually rearrange them. Okay, the other thing with respect to the usual operation that you do with a pie chart is adding data labels inside, but using percentages. So data labels we have seen are here. Let's see. Okay. They are ridiculously small. Let's make them larger. Okay. Most of the time, however, with a pie chart, you don't see you don't see the values. You are much more interested in the percentages. How to get the for example, this should be 20%. How to get the percentages? You double click here. You remove value from the label option. Oops. Them. Okay, you have to re-put them. Okay. Am I able to... no, chart option. Where is... Oh, series 1 data labels. Okay. It's really terrible. Before removing value, you click on percentage, and then you remove value. Okay. Now you get the percentages. Okay. Which are much more useful in a representation like this. Okay. Completely different, or better, slightly different, are multiple data series. Here you have more than one data. We have already seen, as our first example, a column plot in which columns were one next to the other. It's called a clustered column graph. Same thing, but we can build staked column graphs. Let's see. Here, select more than one series. This is the clustered, okay, and this is the staked. What's the difference? Well, it's only aesthetical, but the staked is well suited whenever your data can be summed. So whenever it makes sense and it's interesting to know what the sum of number 1, number 2 is, because in this way they are one above the other. Okay, while the clustered, when the data must be compared one with the other, but you're not interested in the sum. There is a further option, the 100% staked, which honestly is not so used too much. Please, in your serious works, avoid the three-dimensional things. They are horrible, and there is no reason to have them in a graph. Especially if you have also a strange perspective. So especially if you are trying to rotate the graph and look it from a strange perspective. Can you see? Now here it's difficult to compare the thing, despite the graph maybe looks more fancy or nice or trendy. Okay. Well, staked bar plots, as before, are identical to staked column plots. Okay. Staked lines and staked area are ridiculous, and let's see them. Where are the lines? Where are the lines? Okay, these are the clustered areas and staked areas. Okay, and the lines, where are the lines? Here. Well, clustered lines make sense, but staked lines, not so much. Even worse, the 100% staked lines. Okay, a graph which is really completely different is the scatterplot. As you can see, only tool for mathematical graphs. So whenever you want to build a mathematical graph, like the ones you were building at high school to draw the graph of a function, the scatterplot is your tool. So please don't build a line plot, which is completely wrong as a scatterplot, as a mathematical graph. Let's see an example of a scatterplot. Go to sheet long. take by price and sell price. Insert Scatterplot is here. Choose the first one. Move to a new chart. Okay. Well, all the data are concentrated here except this one, and this one. It means that you either rescale the horizontal and vertical axis or apply a logarithmic scale. Please apply a logarithmic scale. So I double click, logarithmic scale, I double click, logarithmic scale. Oh, now it makes much more sense. Oh, this is a scatter plot. For the moment, it's just a statistical plot. Later on, we'll see how to make a mathematical plot. What can you do with a scatter plot from a statistical operation? Well, the typical one is changing this dot. Suppose that instead of a blue circle, I would like a red triangle. You double click. No, let's pay attention because you must click one time only. Much better. Search how to change it. Marker. It's very well hidden, as you can see. Marker. Solid fill, red. But then I want a triangle. Where is the triangle? Marker options. Build-in triangle. Ah, I have to change also the border. Solid line. Right. Okay. Let's make it a little larger also. Size. Okay. Wonderful. Okay, a wonderful scatter plot with red triangles. Okay, so this is the tool in case you want to build mathematical graphs. Okay, you can say, well, but my mathematical graphs had a line, not triangles. Okay, let's do also that one. Empty sheet. Here type X. Here type Y. Here type numbers from -2 to 6 with steps of 0.1. Ah. Okay. Here x square. So x square minus 5x plus 2. Double click, attack. Okay, let's do the graph of this function. Select both columns. Not this one, we'll see later why this one. Okay, you recognize the graph that you were used to have at high school. It's a parable. Okay, it's x squared, so it's a parable. Why couldn't we do the graph before for the other scatter plot? Let's see if I can catch it again. Because unfortunately, to draw a mathematical graph with the lines, the data must be in order. So in the example before, the x were in order. Here, the x price, which is not in order at all, and in fact, if you try to convert it to a scatter plot with lines, here what you get. So they are not in order, and poor Excel try to connect the points. Okay, let's see here. Here instead they are in order, as you can see, the x, and Excel managed to connect the point correctly. Let's move it to a new chart. Okay, here the things you can do are just changing the line color, changing the line width. Okay, nothing else, honestly, the rest is identical to the other graphs. But why do I insist so much that line graph doesn't work? Let's see. Same data, I build a line graph. Move chart. Let's see the differences. Well, first of all, you have things which is completely wrong. You can get rid of it. Now, they look similar. But here, 1, 2, 3, these are not the x numbers. But still you can fix it. You can, not like this, you can select data and change the categories. Edit. Oops. Go to empty and manually fix the categories. It's ridiculous, but it more or less works. So now they look similar, but they are still different because if you remove all the x values from 2 to 4, and with remove I mean delete the lines, not press Enter, what happens? The real one, well, tries to interpolate linearly, so tries to do whatever he can, so the wrong one, which is completely wrong. You can see it jumps from 1.8 to 4.1. Okay, so not a mathematical graph at all. There is one last graph that I want to talk about. It's not in the slide, but I will put it for the next course. It's a bubble chart. Okay. Let's see some data. Let's take some data. For example, go to sheet long again. Okay. Take buy price, sell price, and let's take and total buy. Okay. So for a bubble chart is like a scatterplot, but need 3 series. The first series will be the x values, the second series the y values, the third series the width of the bubbles. Let's see, insert bubble here, move it. Again, the problem are the axis, apply logarithmic scale. Logarithmic scale. Logarithmic scale. Okay. See, each value, now there are a lot of values. Maybe it's better to build it with fewer values. Let's do it with fewer values. Can I get sheet long? Okay. So, only the first 6 up to 16. I'm pressing Ctrl. Okay. Now you have the x and the y, and also an idea of the z, because the width of each bubble is determined by how large the third column that you have selected is. Okay. So it's a way to display 3 numerical variables in the same graph. Okay. An interesting thing that you may want to do in a bubble graph is representing different series using different colors. Okay. In case the series, like here, are in the same chart, how can you do? Suppose, for example, I'm asking you, please draw a bubble chart for the first 10 stocks, and then a bubble chart with color yellow for the next 10. Well, if you do something like this, they will all be the same color. If you do something like this, you will do what I say, but the 2 series will have the same color. Okay. How can you do it for the first 10 with one color and with another color? Well, you first build it for the first 10. Okay. Click on select data, add the series name, second series, x values, you take them from here. Unfortunately, we have the graph above. Okay, y values again from here. And this is the reason why I always suggest you to move the chart on your sheet, because having the chart in the middle when you're trying to work, it's a little boring. Okay. And you can see that now I have the 2 series, the first 10 in blue and the other 10 in red. So we have found a usage of the select data add series. In this way we can add series easily with different colors when the series are not on separate columns but are on the same columns. So if you choose three series are on the same column, it's very difficult to change the color. Okay, you have to do it manually, element by element. Okay, unless you build it for the first series and you add the other one manually. Okay, last thing, how to put some graphic elements in your graph. Insert. Where is it? No, it's in design. Let's see, it's always well hidden. Format here, insert shapes. The graphic element that we would like to put is a text box. Blah, blah, blah. However, the text box, you can see, is transparent. If you want to make it non-transparent, just click here, or here, or here, or any other one. Okay. And the other element that we typically use, it's an arrow. So let's see, the arrow is here. And we put the arrow pointing at something. If you want to make the arrow wider, just go here, and here the arrow. Okay. There are tons, as you can see, of other illustration possibilities, but honestly, it's not necessary to know all of them. In case you will need, they are here, and you will learn yourself how to do them, and also how to change them in some fancy way, so to rotate them somewhere.